who is a wonderful singer. And so we are going to start this evening with 2 songs from Anna.
Thank you, Satish.
Yes.
So I'm going to share a couple of songs that I've written inspired by Schumacher College and the art school and the whole of the Dartington estate. This first one is called The Redwoods. So those of you who are here for not just this week will have definitely heard me play this one before. I wrote it back in October, and it was just in reaction to seeing lots of people come here at a time of change in their life or a new chapter, or for searching for some new purpose that could really resonate with them. And I guess you'll hear it in the song. But I'd really like you to all sing along on the chorus if you're up for it. The words are really simple. They're just in the redwoods, in the redwoods. So I think you'll get it. So there's 2 parts, one for a higher voice and one for a lower voice. But don't really worry too much about getting it perfect. Just enjoy how it feels to be singing with everyone together. So the slightly higher part goes like this. In the redwoods, 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 in the It's a little rundown at the end. You can just freestyle a little ooh, ooh, ooh. And then the slightly lower part, you can choose whichever. In the red, goes like this. In the red woods, 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 in the red. Those who want to join in for the higher part, come back with me. In the red woods, in the red woods, in the red woods, in the red woods. That was beautiful. So it comes back around quite a few times in the song. I'll do the eyes, and then you'll know when it's coming. Okay, this is the redwoods. Juliet came with a question, looking for an answer to her question. Oh my, what is my life? while. Take some time to sit with me under this redwood tree. It's so peaceful here. And the sun stretches low in the sky, and the rain dries up into the ground, and the air moves oh so very alive. And I know what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do now. It just came to me. In the redwoods, in the redwoods, in the redwoods, in the redwoods. What about the founders? What would they want us to do? What about the candlers? The smartest of 92, and all the other lost boys living in their campers. Wanna hold their hands and tell them it's gonna be okay. Would I believe me? Do I believe me anyway? We create utopia just for a second in play. It's enough to help us get up on a Monday. I know where I'd like to stay. In the redwoods, 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 in the Thank you very much. It means a lot to be able to share, especially that song with you here. I wrote it in the autumn, but it was obviously bad weather all through the winter, and I didn't have the opportunity to actually sing it in the redwoods for ages. And we were having regular song shares here each month in a chicken shed over by Craft Ed around the wood burner, practicing the song. And then in April it was finally good enough weather to go out into the redwoods and sing that. And it was very special indeed. So the other song that I'm going to sing was inspired by Dorothy and Leonard Elmhurst, who are the two people that started the Dartington estate and the Dartington experiment as we know it today. They came to the estate in 1925 and started up a place for progressive education and regenerative farming and social justice and arts and crafts and all of the things we kind of still do now here, which is pretty amazing that that's almost a century ago. And I was really inspired by their story. So Dorothy, she actually was a philanthropist because she had incredible fortunes. She'd lost both of her parents, unfortunately, and her first husband before she was 30, and they'd all left her lots and lots and lots of money, so she kind of had bottomless pockets. And met Leonard, and I think by the sounds of things, it took a long time for him to court her, and he wrote her lots of letters over time. And when he was with his guru Tagore, who made these artworks, and he's a famous poet, he said, go to Devon, and find a place to start up your dream of what we know as Dartington now. And he came here and he found the Dartington estate, and it was in a total shambles, especially like up at the hall. It was just brambles everywhere. It wasn't the beautiful manicured gardens that we see now, but he just knew this is the place and brought Dorothy, and yeah, so it began. And I've always really enjoyed hearing this story and lots of different iterations, of course, over time as people have their different interpretations. But what is really interesting is to think about how this would all have felt for them, and that's something you can really put into a song. So a few things that really struck me is that Dorothy would have probably felt a lot of grief having lost people really, really close to her at a young age. And surely that would, affect a lot of the decisions that you make or the way you see the world. And they must have had a lot of love for each other and real belief in what they wanted to do, because even though, yes, they had money on their side, it's still a huge undertaking to want to start such radical learning and ideas and to put all the work in that the estate would have needed. So this song is called This Land, and it's written from the perspective of Dorothy. And the chorus, once again, I'd like you to sing along. There's a few more words to this one, but not too many. So the chorus is Leonard saying to Dorothy, "This land, Dorothy, this land here, we can make it last for 100 years. This land, Dorothy, this land here, we can make it last for 100 years. It will be in 2 years, not quite just yet." So the tune. This land, Dorothy, this land here, we can make it last for 100 years. This land, Dorothy, this land here, we can make it last for 100 years. This land, Dorothy, this land here, we can make it last for 100 years. Great. It comes around a few times again. You'll know, you'll feel it. I might seem unlucky with some of the biggest pockets on the East Coast, but I'd trade all my money to see again the ones I miss the most. And when I met you, I can't say
That is a very beautiful song, particularly the last one, connecting with the land. And the tragedy of our age is most of the people, majority of the people in our Western world particularly, have become disconnected from the land. So, I would like to say, first of all, that we should not have any idea of ownership of land. At the moment, a few people own thousands of acres. Recently, I was invited to go to a conference in Dorset, our sort of neighboring county. And it was on an estate, kind of feudal estate, 5,000 acres owned by one family. I think that needs to change. I think everybody should have access to land. Not ownership of land, but relationship with land. Everybody. And land has become a commodity. Land is not a commodity. Land is a community. And those who eat should be able to grow a little bit of their food, having direct connection with the land. And that's one thing we at Schumacher College try to do, is everybody who come as a student, particularly if you are here for 1 year doing master's program, then you have opportunity to go and work in Henry's field and do some gardening. And we have a 6 months long program, growers program, and they'll come here in April and they stay here until the end of September, 6 months, and they learn to grow food in our Henry's field. And we have other small gardens as well. And so I would like to see in every school there should be a garden. Every university should be associated or connected with a farm. Students studying, I think at least for the weekend or 1 day a week of their studies, they should go on the field, on the farm, in the gardens, and plant trees, plant potatoes, plant asparagus, plant herbs, plant flowers. If we were connected with the land and working with our hands, touching the soil, it's very therapeutic. At the moment, most governments in the Western world cannot find enough money to pay for the health service. We spend billions and billions of pounds in England, in UK, and yet not enough doctors, not enough nurses, not enough hospital beds, because so many people are ill. Physical health, mental health. Why we have so much illness, nobody asked. In my view, we don't have good health because we are disconnected from the land, disconnected from nature. Land is not just for entertainment, that you just go for a little walk and look at the flowers. That's nice, but that's not enough. I think we need to touch the soil, plant the seeds, and embrace the cultivation of food. Those who eat and say they have no time to garden, then I say to them, then you have no time to eat. If you can find time to eat, you can find time to do a little bit of gardening. You don't have to be a full-time gardener. You don't have to be a full-time farmer. Some people can be full-time gardeners and farmers. But everybody should spend some time, an hour a day, a few hours a week, working on the land. We will be healthy, mentally, spiritually, physically. To be an indigenous person is to be connected with the land. Indigenous communities were connected with the land. But now land has become a property, a real estate, a commodity, a symbol of status. And the way we farm the land, factory farms, machinery, people don't. Hardly 2 or 3% of people in Britain are in farming business. And even those 2 or 3% of people who are in farming business don't farm. They just manage the machines, big combined harvesters, big tractors, computers, and big factory farms where 5,000 cows, 10,000 pigs, 50,000 chickens, kept in one confined conditions. These animals never see the light of the day. And the land is filled with chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides and all these things. Because we think, or modern industrial farmers think, the soil has no soul. Soil has no life. Unless they put these chemicals and poisonous substances, soil cannot produce anything. It's a very mistaken view. Soil is a living soil, living organism. There was a wonderful woman called Lady Eve Balfour. She came from an aristocratic family, Lady Eve Balfour. But she was an enlightened woman. And she wrote a book called The Living Soil. It's a very famous book, I think worth reading. And that book became the foundation for starting the Soil Association, the Living Soil. And so our farming and our food production has become completely mechanized and industrialized. And the living soil and that relationship with the soil, the connection with the soil, we have forgotten. All our skills to produce food and vegetables and flowers, all that is lost more or less. Majority of people have lost that. We just, in our big cities like London and Paris and Hong Kong and Beijing and Tokyo and Mumbai and New York, people don't know where the food coming from. It's all factory farms. So Leonard and Dorothy getting this land and having land as a kind of part of Dartington is a very important part. So I would like to see a revolution in our thinking, connecting with the land. If you are, wherever you are, even if you don't have land, find someone who has a bit of land and a garden. Say, can I volunteer? Can I help? Because lots of old people have land and a garden, but they don't have energy and physical strength to garden. So young people should go and volunteer weekends and say, can I do some work for you and grow some food? And then they will say to you, oh yes, so many cucumbers, so many kind of beans and peas and asparagus and strawberries. Please take some. So you will get some. So find someone who has a garden and volunteer. If you want good health, physical, mental, spiritual health, then connect with the land. I have 2 acres of garden. And I'm very lucky. And I got that house where I live. I've lived there for more than 40 years. I moved there in 1979. So nearly 43, 44 years. And I got that place because of the land, 2 acres of the land. And I planted 15 apple trees. and lots of other trees, and a garden. In May, we have asparagus, and we eat asparagus, this big bundle for lunch and dinner every day, and I never get fed up. It's so delicious. And asparagus, you plant 1 year, and for 10 years you don't have to do anything. Just keep growing. Nature is so abundant. Soil looks after the asparagus itself. You don't have to do anything. It's amazing. Yes, yeah, gardening is not that difficult. We think gardening is very difficult. It's not that difficult. Once you get hang of it, once you get rhythm of it, then it's very easy. And the miracle, I would like to see every school, children seeing the kind of miracle of nature, that you plant one tiny, tiny tomato seed into the soil. Can you imagine the size of the tomato seed? That tomato seed is a treasure house. You put it into the soil. The soil and the rain and the sun will make that seed into a plant. And that plant will grow and will have lots of leaves and lots of little branches and lots of leaves. And out of those leaves and beside those leaves, there'll be beautiful flowers, blossom, from that little seed. And each blossom will become a tomato, a green little tomato. Then it's a little bit bigger, and then a little bit yellow, and a bit red. And it becomes juicy and delicious. And then you pick one tomato. Ah, so delicious, fresh, organic from your garden, not wrapped in the plastic from a supermarket, but from your garden. And then each tomato has 20 more seeds in it. Can you see the abundance of nature? And that's in every plant. I mean, I was talking with Wonder, and his brother remembers me talking about apple seed. I planted 15 apple trees, just a seed, a little seed, 20 years ago. And those apple trees have become big apple trees now, with branches and leaves, and year after year after year, from that one seed, I'm getting apples. And last year, it was abundance, very good crop. And we made 200 bottles of apple juice. Can you imagine? And whole year, I don't buy apple juice. I drink my own apple juice. So this is a kind of experience our children, our young people need to see and experience the abundance, the regenerative nature of the culture of our plants and nature. So we are losing and missing that experience. So land for me is very important. And Schumacher College is particularly we value, and I always say that you made the film about our growers program, and I said to Mihu that growers program is the jewel in the crown, and Mihu made the title of the film, Jewel in the Crown. So land is our identity. Soil, our body is made of soil. In Latin, the word for soil is humus. And humus means soil in Latin. And human and humus connected. The word human comes from humus. And so human beings are literally soil beings. We are soil beings. We are made of soil. And all the food we are eating, all the delicious strawberry we had this evening, and all the kind of aubergine, and all the tomatoes, and all the wonderful vegetables and salads we had, they're all soil transformed. It's a miracle. Soil transforms itself into hundreds and thousands of kinds of foods and vegetables and flowers and fruits and herbs. Amazing, amazing. I'm always at a loss. It's so miracle. I cannot think anything. We always say wonders of technology and wonders of smartphones and so on. But wonders of nature is something beyond my grasp. And so we are soil beings. I have written a book called Soil, Soul, Society, a trinity. Soil, Soul, Society. And soil is not dead soil. Land is not a machine. Land is not a commodity, and land is not a machine. It has a soul. It has intelligence. It has consciousness. It has spirit. And we must revere. We are made of the soil. So how can we say soil is dead soil and we are alive, even though that soil produces the living food for us? So soil is alive. It's a living organism. And our identity, real identity, is not that I'm an Englishman or Indian man or Chinese man or Hong Kong man or woman, but our true identity is that we are made of soil. Humus, soil. We are soil. So I always say nature is our nationality. The word nation and nature come from the same root. And then nature means birth. When a mother is pregnant, she has a prenatal check. After the birth, postnatal check. Natal means birth. Pre-birth, post-birth. When Europeans went to South Africa and they found a town called Natal, they called it Natal because it was a Christmas day, birthday of Jesus Christ. And so they called it Natal. So Natal, nativity. And native, if you are native of Devon, because you are born in Devon. So they all come from the same root. So nature means birth. So everything that is born is nature. So we are born, we are nature. But at the moment, in our modern thinking, we think nature is out there. The trees and the birds and the animals and the hills and mountains and waters and rivers are nature. And we humans are not nature. We are superior to nature. We are higher from nature. And nature is there for us to exploit, to use. This needs to change. There is no separation between humans and nature. Humans are as much nature, because they are humus, we come from the soil. Humans are as much nature as trees and birds and animals and rivers and mountains and hills. We are nature. The moment we realize that we are nature, then what we do to nature out there, we do to ourselves. If we pollute the water, we have to drink it. We were talking about water. Our water is polluted. Our rivers are full of sewage. Our oceans are full of plastic. Our water, which is life. Without water, we cannot live. And yet we make water foul, polluted with plastic and rubbish, industrial pollution, and sewage, and so much. How can we do it? How can we do it? Humans can do it. And we say we are educated. We are Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, Harvard, big universities. Educated. We have no sense of nature and no sense of the sacred qualities, sacred nature of nature. And so we need to say that what we do to nature, we do to ourselves. If we pollute the air, it will become bad air. We have to breathe it. If we put carbon into the atmosphere, it will become climate change and global warming. And it will come back to us, and heat and floods and all the things we face today. So the greatest folly of the Western scientific mind is to separate humans from nature and then have a dominion over nature and control nature and dominate nature and exploit nature and use nature as a commodity. This is the biggest folly of the Western mindset. And that Western mindset has now spread all over the world. China, India, Japan, all the countries are following this idea. Nature is there only as a resource for the economy, exploit it and use it for your benefit. You are above nature, superior to nature. I think this is what we need to challenge. Land is a source of life. And so nature, not only we are nature, we are not superior to nature, and what we do to nature, we do to ourselves, and therefore taking care of nature, looking after nature, looking after land, and all this craze for infrastructure. roads, railways, motorways, airports, big cities, everything, build, as if we are making concrete jungles all over the world. Concrete jungles. When we can live simple houses, simple life, we can do that. But we don't. And we waste so much built space. So much space we build and not used properly, underused. In Japan, actually, traditionally had a very good use of. I was staying in one family. At daytime, they put the futon away in the cupboard and becomes a living space. And at night, they put the futon from the cupboard and put it on the floor and sleep on it. The same room. Whether here, we have a living room sitting all night unused. And the bedroom all day unused. Why do you have two bedrooms, separate living room and bedroom? Use bedroom at night, same room, and then use the same room for living room for the daytime. I think we need to learn frugality so we can have more land free of housing and roads and airports and infrastructure and cities. So we need to value land and trees and a forest and the fields and birds and insects and honeybees and butterflies. Those biodiversity is so important and we are missing it. We are losing biodiversity left, right and center all around the world. And you know COVID came because of our kind of encroachment of the wildlife. We have been taking wildlife more and more and cutting down the rainforest and making big fields, just monoculture, thousands of acres of soya beans, thousands of acres of just, and we are using crops to feed animals for meat, very uneconomical. And we are using crops to create a fuel for our cars and so on. That's a very bad use of soil. Soil should be for trees and wilderness. Wilderness should be part of it. And now there's a very good movement in Britain, rewilding. I support it and I love it. There's one very good friend of mine called Isabella Tree, and she has written 2 books. One is called Rewilding and the other is called Handbook for Wilding. And she has got something like 3,000 acres land, and it was an arable farm, a dairy farm, and they were losing money. They had an overdraft of $1.5 million. And so in the end, she had some sort of kind of awakening. And she said, no, we are not going to do this. Let's sell it. So she sold all the machinery, she sold all the cows and everything, and let it go wild. I think it lasts nearly 10 years now. And I went to visit it. It's a Knapp estate, if you want to visit, if you are living in Britain and if you have opportunity. Now they have visitors going there. It's like a bush of Kalahari or a bush of Australia. And when I went there and I saw this wild, beautiful, amazing bush, wild, I said to Isabella and Charlie that you are the bushmen or bushwomen of England. That's wonderful. That's a lovely new movement which I like, I support. We need wilderness. Wilderness is very important. And another friend of mine who came to Schumacher College and talked here called Ben Goldsmith. And he is a nephew of Teddy Goldsmith, who started the Ecologist magazine, which I'm now running with Research Trust. And he had a 500-acre farm. And for the last 5 years, he is not farming it. Just let it go wild. And let the trees grow. And let the wild animals go. And let the butterflies and bees and all the birds come back. And so that is a very good movement. And some of our land, for example, Ben's farm, it's not productive land. It's very clayey. And if you farm it, you have to import chemicals and fertilizers to make it happen. And it's not economical. Because these people like Isabella Tree had overdraft and Ben Goldsmith had the same problem. He can afford to do it, so he can do it. But it's not economical. So let the land, which is a kind of good fertile land for food and vegetables and gardens and wheat and barley and so on, let that land, like East Anglia, in the east of England is a good land and use that one for growing crops. But in lots of land in Devon and in Somerset and Dorset, Somerset was a summer settlement. It's not a farming land. It's in the winter time, it's all waterlogged, and it's not very good. But we are just industrializing and doing it. So there is a big movement now, and I'm very pleased to say there's a wonderful movement of wilding the land and bringing more people together. The next to Ben Goldsmith's farm is a 42 acres, which is actually 180 acres. But originally it was a 42-acre farm. Then they added to it. And they are also doing wilding. And I go there. It's a little like Schumacher College. It's a retreat center. There are about 20 bedrooms. And I run some retreats there. I ran last time on Radical Love. And next, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going there again for food and sacred land, a weekend course. And in September, I'll do another one there, a weekend course. So we do weekend courses there. That's also bringing back kind of nature and protecting nature and taking care of nature. So there are hopeful signs of such projects, which gives me encouragement and hope for the future. But majority of our farming is very bad. And also in Europe, it's all subsidized by the European Commission and very, very sad story. So I think I was very inspired to hear this, Dorothy, this land is here and we can last for 100 years. That's a wonderful, not 100 years, that's a very actually small, short time, 100 years. We can make it last for thousands and thousands of years. This land has been here for eternity. From the time of Big Bang or soon after that, there was a land. And we have been, so land is our mother. Land is our mother. And we are children of the land. Land has been here and land will be here forever. So we have to look after it so that we have inherited from our ancestors and look after it. Don't own it, but have a relationship with it, and then make it good land so that our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren for generations and generations to come can enjoy this land. Land is nobody's property. We don't own the land. We just revere the land. So somehow, spontaneously, I was not planning to talk about land this evening, but I was so inspired by this song that I thought I will talk about the land and the soil. But we also have some wonderful course participants in the art, aren't you? How many of you are doing the art course? Okay, oh, that's quite a few of you. That's wonderful. Now art is not only, art is good thing, but art is nowadays in our modern world is seen as if only fine art, like music, painting, that kind of sculpture, that sort of thing. I would like you to expand the idea of art. First and foremost, art is art of living. Art of living. Art of speaking. Art of cooking. Art of wearing clothes. Art of being kind to other people. Art of living is the greatest art. And all other arts, fine arts, which are in the museums and galleries and the concert halls and all those art are the secondary art. That's a good art. But as I said to my group this morning, I said everybody can be an artist, should be an artist. So the meaning of the word is art, is to make. An artist is a maker. Artisan means to make artisan food, artisan bread, artisan cheese, meaning making good bread, good cheese, good food. So artisan and art. So we have made art into a kind of specialist, little bit kind of precious something. And so you are an artist, or you are famous, you are a celebrity, and your art is to be collected and put in the museum and in the gallery. And that's a kind of, I think, a kind of corruption of art. I want art to be part of life. Everybody should be able to sing. Everybody should be able to dance. Everybody should be able to paint. Everybody should be able to write poetry. Everybody. There's not that you have to have a professional artist, a professional sculptor, a professional poet, a few people, and not all of us. Everybody who can speak can write, can sing. Like you sang beautifully. We all can sing, and we did sing. And we can all dance, and we can all paint. We can all do gardening. And if you do a beautiful garden, it's a work of art. I mean, Van Gogh painted one sunflower. But look at our garden, there are hundreds of sunflowers. What's so special about Van Gogh? But we pay $40 million for one painting of sunflower Van Gogh, and nobody takes any notice of our Henry's Field, where we have hundreds of. Who is great artist, nature or Van Gogh? I like Van Gogh. He's my great favorite artist. But what I'm saying to you is, the nature is the greatest artist. We just copy nature art. We are just a kind of landscape artist. We copy. But the real art is the art of nature. Mountains and forests and trees. They're so beautiful, so magnificent, so amazing, so miraculous. I already said the miracle of nature. So being in nature and observing nature and working with nature and creating a good garden and creating a good house, creating good food and creating good clothes, they're all art. So artists should not be put on a precious place. Everybody. So artist is not a special kind of person, but every person is a special kind of artist. Every person is a poet. And so we all need to be artists. And so if you look after land, you look after your health, you look after your life, and you enjoy and have a kind of joy and celebration, then you are an artist. So be an artist. At the moment, our society is a society of consumers. I want to transform this society. And I want our society to be a society of artists, society of makers, society of poets, society of craftsmen and women, society of gardeners and farmers, society of builders. And building should be a work of art. At the moment, most of the buildings are so ugly. High-rise buildings, same uniform buildings. There's no art there. So art has become a kind of specialist, something to be kept in the museum or gallery, and the ugly buildings, ugly shopping malls, ugly service stations, ugly everything, ugly. And we put art, a little precious, beautiful painting in a gallery. What are we doing? What are we doing? Have we become insane? I don't understand. So art has become a bit too precious. I want to make art more democratic. Every citizen should have art in their life. And every house, every building, every service station, every shop, every supermarket, these industrial estates, every town and city builds business kind of, what do you call the business?
Parks.
Huh?
Business parks.
Business parks. There's no park there. Like a car park. Business park is a park, but real park is park where you have flowers and vegetables and trees. That's like a Hyde Park. That's a different real park. But these business parks have no park in them. They're so ugly. So beauty has gone out of our society. Our industrial, mass-produced, mass-consumed society has lost the sense of aesthetics. And the ecological crisis is a crisis of aesthetics. The environmental crisis is a crisis of aesthetics. The war in Ukraine is a crisis of aesthetics. What an ugly thing we are doing, all these ugly tanks and ugly bombs and ugly killing. And what are we doing? Where humanity has gone, we become so arrogant and so stupid that we are destroying our planet and we think we are democratic, we are civilized, we are educated at Harvard and Cambridge and Oxford and all the big universities. This arrogance has to go. I'm being very hard on them, I'm afraid. But I think we have to say that. That's the truth, that we are living in a world of artless and ugly structures and infrastructures and buildings and so on. So bring back beauty in your life. That's the real art. Brings back beauty and celebration and joy and relationship and friendship and a contentment. If you want to be happy, contentment is needed. Enjoy the gifts of nature and what our ancestors have left for us. Art, poetry, music, philosophy, religion, language, culture, so much we have to celebrate. So we can celebrate that. So if we do that, then nobody needs to fight each other, nobody needs to go to war, nobody needs to be hungry, no need for pollution, no need for waste, no need for climate change, no need for anything. All this is just artificially created. So we need to bring back simplicity, elegant simplicity, and then bring back humanity, and bring back art and culture and music and good communities and good friendship and good gardening. Enough. So, any questions? We can have 15 minutes of questions, yeah.
So nice to see you again, Satish.
Thank you.
Talking on what you said, I remember last time I was here, there was a man who came to speak from Norway,
Yeah.
who wrote a book called The Nordic Secret.
Yes. Björkman. You know Björkman? Yeah, Nordic Secret. Yeah.
And his chat really impacted me because what I remember was he said that the Nordic secret and the Nordic countries, what they did at the beginning of the 20th century,
Yeah.
as they were falling behind,
Yeah.
as the rest of Europe modernized,
Yeah.
they stayed farmers,
Yeah.
but they stayed poor.
Yeah.
And in 30 years, they evolved and became what they are now. These very evolved civic societies that know how to collaborate with nature. And I think my question is, and I think what I remember is that the Nordic secret was that they founded these folk schools.
Schools, yeah.
Right? Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. And what he said was even the bigger secret is that they were government funded, but they were operated by the people.
Yeah. That's
So my question, I guess, is what needs to happen for our governments that lead today to understand that?
Yes, I think the
Because
Nordic,
we're running out of time.
yeah, Nordic governments were a bit more progressive and they were a little bit more sensible. I don't think British government we can expect much like that. So I think we, the people, at the grassroots level, need to start folk schools, folk high schools ourselves, and raise money if we can. I would say Schumacher College is a kind of folk high school. It's not paid by the government, so we have to charge people to come here. But if we can raise money from philanthropists, and we can start folk high school type of schools where free thinking, ecological thinking, social thinking, artistic thinking can take place, and people can have, particularly in Nordic countries, in the winter time, there were long nights, and therefore farms cannot operate much. You can't work in the farms. Even in those days, there was not enough electricity, so they did not have even factory work so much. So farmers had no work in the winter time. So what do? So it was a very wise thing to do for them, the folk high schools where they came, and they studied Goethe, they studied Shakespeare, they studied Mahatma Gandhi, they studied Marx, they studied all the kind of big ideas, and a lot of German philosophers and writers had influence on Nordic high school, folk high schools, and so and lots of people from France and so on. So they were wonderful, those schools. They were very. I visited some of them in Norway and Denmark, and they're wonderful. So I think in England we need to start such schools ourselves, and let's not wait until Rishi Sunak can give you money. That you can wait for eternity. So I think we have to start them. Any other question? Yes, please.
Are you still engaged with the government in talks about policy or trying to influence government strategies in terms of the environment?
Have I talked to them?
Yes.
I have, but largely my thinking is that change is not going to come from government. Change is not going to come from 10 Downing Street, or White House, or Kremlin, or any other parliament houses. Change, real change, always big change, big movement happens from the grassroots. And so I believe that the people's movement at the grassroots level has to make an impact and a kind of big change of awareness and consciousness and ideas. And then that will have so much power and a pressure and vote that governments will say, oh, there are votes in green ideas, there are votes in renewable energy, there are votes in this, that, or the other, whatever change we want to say. So we need to think that all change will come from, like building a house, you have to build from bottom up, lay the foundation first. So the foundation is people's thinking, people's minds, people's consciousness. And so if we can create a large movement around the world for ecology, for spirituality, for holistic thinking, for a healthy relationship between humans and nature, and a healthy relationship between humans and humans, so that we are not so inundated with divisions in the name of nationality, in the name of religion, in the name of economic system, in the name of politics, in the name of this, that, or the other. We are so divided, and we don't need to be so divided. So this kind of unity and a celebration of diversity, and through that diversity, seeing the unity of humanity and unity of human and nature, if we can create that movement and create a people's movement at the grassroots level, that will have more power. And if you take Mahatma Gandhi did not start from the top. Martin Luther King did not start from the top. Nelson Mandela didn't start. Women's movement, Simone de Beauvoir wrote The Second Sex, did not start from the Palais Élysée. It started from one woman writing a book and created a revolution. And in those days, women were not allowed to have trousers in the offices and the shops. And now even prime ministers are wearing trousers. So that change has come from the bottom. Women's liberation movement did not come from the top. That came later, that Mrs. Thatcher became prime minister, but much later. It started, and the first book I read about feminism and women's liberation was The Second Sex of Simone de Beauvoir. And then other books came out, and many women started to have their publishing houses and the magazines and the liberation, and started to work, and so on. So I think we have to take responsibility upon our own hands, upon our own shoulders, and say, we are going to live a different life, and we are going to become gardeners, we are going to become artists, we are going to become cooks, we are going to become singers and dancers and musicians, and we are to create beauty in our society and beauty in our lives, and we will do it, and then government will change. So start from ourselves. Be the change we want to see in the world. Communicate that change to people through your music, through your singing, through your writing, through Schumacher College, through anything you can do. Communicate the change and join everybody together. So be the change, communicate the change, join others to change, and then change will become big. Okay, yes.
In the morning you were talking about that we live in a society of fear.
Yeah.
My question is how we can reconnect with the courage to make those kind of changes.
Yes.
In life.
Yes. The fear is very dominant. This morning I might have said that our society in general is suffering from trust deficit disorder. We are lacking trust in ourselves, we don't believe in ourselves, and we don't believe anybody else. We only believe in money and only believe in system. So fear is the greatest problem of our time, and a lack of trust in ourselves. And so I think in places like Schumacher College and wherever you can do it, first thing to bring some sort of courage. And I said this morning that courage word comes from heart. Kol means heart. And everybody is given heart. You don't have to go to Marks and Spencer to buy heart. You don't have to go to Asda to buy courage. It's given to us. We have it. But it's dormant. It's sitting there unused. It's like just put in the cupboard. You have a beautiful dress in your cupboard. You never wear it. And so sitting in the cupboard. So your courage is sitting in your heart's cupboard. And heart is locked and closed. So open the heart and have the courage and take risk in your life. To live is to risk. If you're afraid of risk, you will not be taking any adventure. You will not be doing any journey. I went around the world for 2.5 years, through 15 countries, walking 8,000 miles, without a penny in my pocket, The only thing I had was trust. I trusted the Muslims. I trusted the Christians. I trusted the communists. I trusted the capitalists. I trusted the rich. I trusted the poor. Even if somebody was prepared to kill me, and I faced twice death in my journey. Once in Paris, once in America. Bullet. And yet, I did not lose my trust. I did not have fear in my heart. I said, I'm prepared to die rather than live in fear. It's better to live without fear for a short time than live in fear for your whole life. So fear is not my friend. Fear I don't like. So I would urge you all to work on your heart, work on your courage, take risk in your life. Don't just follow the order. Just don't follow. I was talking to our Japanese friends. In Japan, everybody wants to be the same. Don't do anything unusual. Don't do anything courageous. Just follow the rules. Just follow the system. Just follow the family rule. I said, no. No, sameness is not nature. Every tree is different. Every flower is different. Every animal is different. We are all humans, but we are all different. We will have difference. Diversity is evolution. Evolution favors diversity. At the time of Big Bang, there was no diversity. Only gas made of energy and matter. Nothing else. And then over billions of years, nature has evolved into different, each bird, each insect, each animal, each human, each tree, and each mountain, and each field are different. Evolution favors diversity. So sameness, uniformity is the problem of our time. So don't fear that you are different. Be courageous, take risk, be yourself, because you are separate. You are different. You are not separate, but you are different. Diverse. And so each and every human being is special, unique. There's no other person like you. 8 billion people on this earth, but no one else, somebody like you. You have a uniqueness, and celebrate that uniqueness, celebrate that your identity, and then relate to other people. Relate to nature, people, whoever other people are. No quarrel, no arrogance, no ego. We move from ego to eco. We talked about ego to eco. And so move from ego to eco, but no fear. Take adventure. Life is a journey of adventure. And do not fear any difficulties. Difficulties are part of life. If you live safe and secured, like a greenhouse, tree in the greenhouse, it's not strong. Tree has to be out in the field, under the snow, under the rain, in the winter, in the summer, in the autumn. Whatever wind and the storm comes, tree stands it. It becomes resilient and can last for 500 years. But if you put a tree in a greenhouse, it will not last very long. It will not be very strong, not resilient. So going through the adventure of life and hardship of life and struggle of life and ups and downs, that will make you strong. So do not worry. Do not seek easy answers, an easy way. Everything should be done for you smoothly, and jobs should be laid for you, and life should be laid for you, and a husband should be given to you, and children should be given to you, and everything should be safe and smooth. We have become too timid in our society. We need to be courageous and we are climbing Mount Everest. Just think of life is a climbing Mount Everest. Not easy, but adventurous. So climb Mount Everest in your life. No fear. Okay, one more question. Yes.
What's the role of rebellion and disobedience within change?
Yes, very good question. Yes, rebellion and disobedience both very good. I'm a rebel. I rebelled at age 9 and I left home. Left my mother. Age 9, left my family and became a monk. And then for 9 years I was a monk, very narrow and straight, disciplined, following the rules. I rebelled. One night, after midnight, I escaped and ran away from my monastery and joined the Gandhian movement, ashram. and I worked with the Gandhian movement. I didn't rebel and I didn't run away because I got the blessings from the Gandhian movement, but then it was a kind of adventure rebellion that I went around the world for 2.5 years walking. And so being rebellious and disobedient is good. It's good. It needs courage and you need it. But it has to be non-violent. So in your rebellion and your disobedience, you do not harm others. You take suffering upon yourself. If you put suffering on other people, that's not rebellion. Mahatma Gandhi took fasting upon himself, took imprisonment upon himself. He took all the suffering upon himself. Martin Luther King took suffering upon himself. Nelson Mandela took suffering upon himself. 27 years in jail, Nelson Mandela. Can you imagine yourself being in prison for 27 years? And many times government say to you, we'll free you, stop your nonsense apartheid movement and go and work like a lawyer and be quiet and nice and have family life. He said, no, I'll be in prison. Now Martin Luther King was in jail in his 10 years of his working active life from 25 to 35. 29 times he went to jail. That's a real rebellion. I had a great honor and pleasure of meeting Martin Luther King. After my walk from India to America, I met Martin Luther King. And he was an embodiment of love, and yet rebellious, and yet disobedient. So disobedience is good, rebellion is good, but it has to be non-violent. You take suffering upon yourself, not inflict suffering on others. If you do that, do no harm. That's the first principle of non-violent rebellion and non-violent resistance and non-violent disobedience. Henry David Thoreau has written a very beautiful book on civil disobedience. If you are interested, read that book. It's a very good book, Civil Disobedience. Tolstoy was another great disobedient rebellion. He rebelled against landlordism and gave the land and became a peasant and became a worker and started to till the land and live a very simple life. So we have very good examples we have in our history. So we can learn from those examples. And we say, yes, I will not be a conformist. I'm a non-conformist. I will not just follow the rules of society. Some of them are very oppressive, some of them are very exploitative, some of them are very destructive. I'm not going to follow them, but I'm going to suffer on myself, take suffering upon myself, and I'll not to follow that. So then you can be a real radical revolutionary activist. So be an activist, but be an activist with optimism. If you are pessimist, you won't be a good activist. You might become a journalist, but not an activist. To be an activist, a rebellious, disobedient activist, you have to have hope in your heart. And that's a positive thinking. Hope, active hope, not a passive hope, not just, I hope something will turn out. No, I will make it happen. I hope it will happen, I'll make it happen. So if you are active hope, and in that sense, you are an activist and an optimist, that's a rebellious disobedience that I advocate. Okay? Thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you. That's a wonderful response. Thank you. Enjoy. I will be gone tomorrow, and our Schumacher Experience Week is also coming conclusion tomorrow. So I hope to see you again. Come again. Schumacher College, your home. Whenever you want to be recharging your battery, come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing meditation tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow meditation, 7:15. Please come.